more than 20 years James Laz, changing how we believe basketball. The mission is simple yet profound. They create pathways to learn. But what makes them extraordinary is deeply that mission. It's grounded in science, compassion, and real results. Long before the science of reading became a national conversation, the Pesky Learning Center was already leading the way, partnering with pioneers like Dr. Salvin Shaywitz, whose groundbreaking work using functional MRI technology revealed how the brain reads. OPLC didn't just follow the research, they turned it into practical, effective guidance for educators, students, and families. I saw that impact firsthand when I was a principal and we called on my school district. Our reading scores were below the state average. Our teachers were dedicated, but they needed support. LPLC stepped in, providing training, coaching, and insight rooted in science and literacy. And the results were remarkable. Within 5 years, our district's performance rose into the top 10% in the entire state of Idaho. What's powerful about LPLC is that they work at both ends of the spectrum. They help individual students who struggle to work through challenges with their learning differences, and they transform entire school systems so that every child has a chance to succeed. That work stands the test of time. What they taught us over 20 years ago is still true today. If you believe, as I do, that every child deserves a pathway to learning that actually works, then I invite you to support the Lee Pesky Learning Center. Your partnership helps unlock potential not just for one student, but for whole communities. And that is a legacy worth building. More than 20 years of the privilege of working in an organization that changes lives by changing the way Lee Pesky Learning Center.
Hey guys online. We are trying to figure it out in the room, but we're getting there. They'll be just coming.
Let's do that. We would like to know it's kind of a very good community, and the charter, I think, is part of that identity. You know, so that, you lose that, what are we gonna become? We're gonna become something less than alien, God help us there. Moving more toward Ketchum than anything, so, I think it helped anchor our.
All right, guys online.
Beyond that, confrontation, contentious,
Right.
and the charter just gives us a put on the shoulder. And
Okay, yeah, because you have. like,
Yeah,
There was something a long time ago where we had to have stuff.
Science, Josh.
well, that's.
Legislation, they do that.
Do that.
Okay.
Change, anything, like, annexation or things like that, have to go through the legislature. You know, it's never been a problem. But it does take time.
Like, just observing.
But it's, you know, it's kind of like the old tower and the museum.
Right.
Students.
It's part of who we are. So I defend it strongly.
District.
There's some, you
Was.
know, since our elections.
Step 10, providing training coach. Reading the science. The results were in our.
Yeah, I do have the gavel. Yeah, so I think I'm giving up on getting the teams working on these screens. We're just gonna have them over here. And they can shout out and I can repeat questions if they're not loud enough on these speakers. But we'll go ahead and get started.
Help individual students who are struggling to.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining.
School systems, that every child has a success, chance to succeed. Their work stands the test of time.
What is it we're getting on that screen?
So it's the virtual attendance.
Oh,
Yeah, we're switching our software and you guys are the guinea pigs and it's a good thing we didn't try it on council last night.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, thank you guys for coming. So we've got a few items on the agenda. First off, would somebody like to make a motion that this was appropriately posted according to state code?
so moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Okay. Next up, we've got our outreach overview for October and November. We had a couple events over that last little bit. We did the trunk or treat. We had the wheel of planning trivia. That was pretty big hit. The front wheel of my bicycle and kids spun the wheel and we asked them silly trivia questions and they got candy, whether they got it right or wrong. And yeah, we gave out a bunch of survey flyers for that. Yeah, just good outreach. And then this last week we had the tree lighting ceremony. We had a s'more station there that we just again handed out flyers to the parents and let the kids burn some marshmallows and pretty well attended, even though it was really bad weather. Yeah, pretty fun. We did tabling at Atkinson's. We had did a lunch session at the Hunger Coalition. We rode the bus from here to Ketchum and back. Do we do any other tabling things?
A couple times at Atkinson.
Yeah, I did a couple. We're also doing tabling for local option tax and handing out comp plan flyers while we were already out there. But yeah, so then we had a couple of surveys open. The November one, since it is the big vision, it's still open. I wanted to make sure we had a good opportunity for people to take it and provide their comments on it. So I didn't do a summary of that one, but the October one is around people, so kind of demographics, social connections, feeling of community in the town. So again, we are our numbers were pretty low on this survey. We only had 28 responses completed. We're gonna be talking about that when we get to the Blue Cross grant. Similarly, one person started in Spanish, but nobody completed it, which is a bummer. Then just the basic demographic question I've been asking on all of these is to check whether they are a Bellevue resident, whether they have a business, whether they live out of Bellevue but work in Bellevue. It's a check all that apply sort of a thing. This is pretty similar to the September survey that most of the respondents were Bellevue residents, and then a few said that they have Bellevue business. The first substance question was that how much they felt that Bellevue had changed since the last comp plan in 2017. It was a little lower than it was medium to a lot, was the general consensus on that, which I was kind of surprised by. I thought there had been a higher census change, because the world has changed a lot since 2017.
But the question is whether Bellevue has.
Right.
Yeah. And I look at some of that and I don't, our population is, we've grown maybe 400 people over
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
It's not showing up as,
Mhm.
radical growth.
Right.
I don't think our demographics in terms of ethnic groups have changed a whole lot.
Right.
I was a little change in moderate myself looking at that one. I was surprised that people who look at it as a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear you say you don't think that Democrat, we're in a conversation now,
Yeah. Go. Yeah.
just surprised to hear you say you haven't seen a lot of demographic change. What's your?
Well, what's our percentage right now? They call it out at about 32. I think coming after about 17, when we were there, we were probably in a very high 20s. So, 2 or 3% on 30% isn't that significant in terms of demographic change.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And then that's a census number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would guess it's around there.
There's a lot of hidden
Yeah.
numbers. Those
So
are-
maybe there's like a 5%
Yeah,
error, whatever.
Change.
Estimates, yeah,
Right.
probably plus, but.
And I would also note that the school is about 50% Hispanic.
Right.
And so if the demographic change hasn't happened yet, it will occur just due to age.
What about age? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Um,
this up.
I've not gotten super deep into actually doing the demographic analysis.
Yeah.
And I'll put something together. I'm not gonna put a lot of emphasis into that, just because like at the size of Bellevue, I don't trust a lot of the census data.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
don't want to take it down.
yeah,
unnecessary.
but yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we'll be looking at. We just came from a meeting in Haley with the Housing Authority on their analysis of impediments to fair housing.
Yeah.
That it was really interesting. Their data countywide, the county's median age is shifted 5 years older in the last 6 years, something
But
like
that's
that.
basically carried by the North County.
Yeah, and it's like 10 years when you get Ketchum and Sun Valley.
Yeah, their demographic analysis was really
Yeah.
good, so I
Yeah.
feel like we could rely.
Yeah,
on
and they've already shared a lot of that data with us.
that public, that data?
Yeah,
Yeah, you just.
yeah, they just released it. I can send it to you.
Good. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Um,
So it also has some good income and.
Yes.
Income struggles and cost of living information.
Mhm.
So,
I heard a theory from somebody the other day that population within Blaine County, people moving around within Blaine County are starting to move south.
Mhm.
Is that something you're seeing in Bellevue at all? Is it even noticeable?
I don't know if we have a real good way of verifying, but yeah, I mean, anecdotally, that
Yeah,
seems
that's kind of
true.
neat.
And the percentages of full-time residents in South Valley versus North Valley is definitely one's going up, one's going down.
Yeah,
especially as the economic center of the county is shifting down to Haley instead of Ketchum, I feel like South Valley will be the one growing along, yeah.
That's an important,
Yeah.
something I think about a lot.
Any other?
I think that all these points are interesting to dive into as we, whenever we get to the, grant and the
Yeah.
conversation around
Yeah.
broad engagement. Yeah.
So the next question was how connected do they feel to the neighbors and community? Again, medium to a lot was the general, we asked similar questions earlier in earlier surveys and I feel like got a little bit more positive of a response in those than this one, which I thought was interesting. Then outside of work, how often do you have an opportunity to meaningfully engage with individuals outside of your social circle? I want to compare this to national numbers because I suspect we're probably a little better, but not a whole lot. We're just getting more isolated as people, as a society, and that's a challenge. Most of the respondents said a few times a week they talk with somebody that they may not talk with normally. Good. Then places where they use socially. Parks and outdoor spaces was a big one, events. And then they said city meetings and civic activities, which you guys show up. Thank you. But yeah, we don't have a lot of participation in council meetings and that sort of stuff. So I'm not sure what they were talking about, or if it's just selection bias of who's taking the survey.
Chair keeps getting caught under the teeth.
But chair. Then this one is an open-ended question, and then Survey Monkey kind of attempts to put it into buckets, but just asks the comment box of what the best strength, the biggest strength of Bellevue's community life, small town atmosphere, community relationships.
How do you characterize that?
What do you mean?
Community relationships.
Yeah,
Does that mean Bellevue gets along with Haley now, or?
no, I think it's inter-community, intra. So it's knowing your neighbors, and that was a lot of the comments of like, I know my neighbors, I know the people around, I've been here a long time, that sort of stuff. Yeah, those two were the big buckets. Then the last question, what would we like to see improved about social, civic, or community life? More outdoor recreation spaces, better community engagement, economic development, and then safety issues, were kind of the big categories on those. So that was the October survey, then like I said, November's still live, please.
I was gonna say, maybe we should give a second for people to do the survey like yesterday, and then they can give us feedback on how the survey is structured. If you all wanna take the survey right now and then tell us how you felt about it, and if our method of doing the surveys is good. If you're all open to that right now,
This one?
green and the next page.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, I thought I did the November one.
Yeah.
And then we do have the new December one if you'd like to do that too.
Yeah, and I haven't done that one yet. I will say that when I go on the website and I'm supposed to flash my phone on this guy right here and I don't have a phone.
Yeah.
There wasn't a link on there. The Bellevue Idaho Gov survey link didn't act as a link. It was just down there. And so I couldn't connect to the survey without going in, opening up the city of Bellevue website and going to that.
You want to be able to click on the.
If we can get a link on here, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I'm a Luddite and I don't
Yeah.
carry these devices.
Yeah, that's fair. I would also love to do more community events where we have paper versions, so people can do it on paper if they like to, so.
Mhm.
If we were to do it now, how would we do it? Just openly discuss this, each question comes up.
I mean, you could do it individually. It's kind of what I was. It's a bunch of.
With,
You have a phone?
no, yes, but I've never actually done one of these QR things.
Just
should do it.
point your camera at it. Yeah, we're gonna tech corner.
Do you want me to coach you?
Sure, I mean, how does it, do you do your phone app or something?
Yeah, just pull out your
Yeah.
camera.
Okay.
And hover it over that. Then click the link.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go to the web.
You can click the current one or the previous one, and yeah, that's the December one. Let us know how the experience is, if the questions seem good, if the length feels good, if it feels easy to do, or if it feels a little burdensome.
Okay, what's our, Helen?
Just go to the city website, that's
Pardon?
just go to the city website.
Are you trying to get on the Wi-Fi?
I'm open for it.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I'll do it when I get home.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Feedback is
Oh,
good.
it's open.
Did you guys come up with questions?
Yeah.
You did?
Brian doesn't.
The link, that's great.
Yes, that's what I'm trying for is short, easy.
All right, you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also easy if you know how to
No, so ahorita están en
copy and paste the text.
Sí, yo le voy a decir que si no paga para que le haga su permiso, ¿eh?
To the other one.
Eso le escribo, ya le digo a Brian y a Carlos que ya pagó, ¿ok? Gracias, man. Hasta luego.
Yeah, and then appreciate the specificity of the December one. Let's start.
Yeah.
How are you?
Was there anything you feel like, living here or working here wise that we missed?
think realistically, I mean, I think the whole living here, working here thing is a great idea. But this is an art here, it's not up to the city to create the business. I think Bellevue needs to look at maybe we both together, more involvement with mass transit or something like that, as opposed to, I mean, you guys have had what live work stuff proposal. That's a great thing, but not at the expense of existing residential. So that's a personal feeling and I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of cities that have, requirements that, for example, you can't tear down a housing unit and build any commercial, like you have to maintain the current housing stock. And
Right.
if you tear down a single family house and add a cafe, it has to have housing units,
Right.
stuff like that.
I get, you're going through the survey and it said, well, do you want high density housing? And you put that next to somebody's house. They're not going to be happy. It's not going to, the valuation of that residential house is going to go down because I guess, so there's so much to pick apart in this that's what I I don't know. I mean, I think that we're looking north, looking south for annexation for higher density is probably, in my mind, the best option.
Put the higher density away from the
Yeah.
existing neighborhoods. Yeah.
Right, rather than trying to jam some fourplex onto a 50 by 75 foot.
And that was like some of the approach with Haley and Woodside.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's,
Relative to the survey, how many used an iPhone? Did it work? Mine crashed at the end. It says, oops, we're working on it, survey, whatever. Something went wrong.
Lenny and I were both doing it at the same time. We might have overwhelmed the system.
It's me too tired.
So just FYI.
Yeah.
That's
Any other thoughts
Other
on
than survey,
survey or what?
it worked fine. You have questions, we're good.
Okay.
But doing it on the phone, because I'm not, of the generation that types on the phone. For me,
Yeah.
typing in the other box is, I guess that's the means of it. So if I were to go this way, I would be on my computer then.
Yeah.
And I could
Yeah.
officially type. So that's just the convenience factor to whatever device you use. So for me, that's why I guess I wouldn't do it this way, because I don't like the big ones, big phones.
So, anything else on outreach? Or move on? Okay, next, on our agenda is our grant proposal from Blue Cross Foundation. We won, got $25,000 from them, for the comprehensive plan update. The grant is specifically targeting, incorporating the social determinants of health into the planning process and document itself. Which, if you're not familiar with that, it's basically that health is a lot more complicated than just eating food and exercising. It, your economic factors, your transportation systems, how stressed you are, how many jobs you're working, all these things play a big role in how healthy you are, especially when you start scaling it out to the public health level where it's more of an individual person. And so that is what they're trying to get us to focus on, and that I think is pretty easy to do. It's aligns with a lot of what we've already been working with. My proposal that I put in the grant on how we would use the money is primarily focused on improving outreach to the Hispanic and Spanish speaking population that we've been struggling to be in contact or be getting engaged in the process. We had a meeting yesterday with Herbert Romero, who does this work for a bunch of nonprofits and works as an independent contractor. And so I am looking for your guys' thoughts on if you think it's a good idea to just hire him to be the outreach coordinator on a very part-time level for the next while, to specifically be focusing on.
I would say
And
yes,
focus.
because he's well known and
Yeah.
understand the community
Mhm.
and trusted.
Mhm.
And he will know where, you know, the church, whatever, you know, that would be he'd be a good liaison.
Yes, I would encourage a broader conversation before hiring a consultant or whatever, just in the vein of starting first from, I know you're targeting Spanish, you want us to target Spanish speaking, but at a survey response rate of 25, I would encourage us to
Yeah.
think a little broader. Especially looking at the percentage of, so I'm just saying we have work to do across the board.
Right.
Yes, for sure.
So I would love to hear others' opinions on a few different ways to do that. Mark, of course, is sitting here having just done this. I'm sure you have a lot of insight to share.
I have some thoughts.
The one thing I'll throw into the room is that, and then you should go, because you've got all this huge.
I don't know how huge it is.
What I've noticed after the work I've done at the Hunger Coalition is that, for some portion of how we go about this engagement, creating, incentives for people to participate drives it a lot. So, you know, you could go with, let's sponsor a night at La Cabanita or a couple of other restaurants where you get $10 off the meal if you come in and do this, and you're doing the survey and you're having a focus group, or you're really, idea being you're going where people already are. So we know people are in the restaurants here with the greatest frequency in terms of really hitting the group of people that's gonna be sitting and staying someplace for a little bit. If that's an observation to offer, an idea to offer, and I think you could expand from that. So while going with I just would love for some stuff like that to be considered alongside any
Yeah.
consideration of saying, oh, one person, you know, go figure it all out. I think there's a, you know, yeah, you go.
I don't know if hiring, and I've worked with Herbert on a lot of stuff. I don't know if it would get you much. We did a lot of different things to try to get outreach in the community. We wanted the feedback. One of the things we also found was that we put a lot of things out there in Spanish. And a lot of the Spanish speaking communities tells us that we can take it in English. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of fear. I don't know if it's, you don't know. I don't know. It is like we try to reach that from
Would you go back and elaborate on that?
well, like we send things out after our sports programs and we would try to get people to take our surveys. We did 3 different surveys. One was targeted to voters, so that's kind of an outlier. But the 2 big surveys that we did, we did it in both English and Spanish. We had maybe, I should try to remember the number. It might have been 10% out of 800 people.
But when it asked, of the Hispanic community, that if they had a choice to do it in, Spanish language or whatever the interface versus the English language, out of some reason, they chose the English because the majority could actually do it.
Yeah, I think that was what we were told. Like, we just did it in English because we just did it.
Mhm.
Now who knows? Like, this is just like, oh, I know you, and you're talking to me, and like, we're talking about, this is what you saw. We also think there was a fear factor
Right.
that
A fear factor, if you did take the test, that
You might get-
malintent for the reasons of
you never know, and especially if they're asking for information and.
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
trying to understand that.
did they ask like email, name, demographic information?
Not email, but demographic information.
Did they ask like name or gender or
No,
anything?
these were not.
See, ours, like, I feel like part of the fear may be that if you give out any identifiable
Yeah,
information
there's
whatsoever,
something.
you can get tracked somehow by
Yeah.
that. And I think our intent with, we don't ask any demographic information is hopefully, and we'll ask for your email at the end if you want to sign up for our email list. Maybe we could take that out.
And I even took that off. I switched it over to click this link to sign up for the emails. So it's not even filling the box
on the survey.
Well, so the other, that doesn't discourage people, but again, it's just really hard.
The other thing I've experienced is that, I don't know how to say this very well, so I'm just gonna say it. That there is people within the Hispanic community, a number of them are like, I don't want to be catered to. Like, I'm here,
Mhm.
I'm part of this community and I'll do it, I'll engage how I want to engage. I don't want to be condescended to, I don't want to be catered to, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna have a job. And now, there's plenty of people who can't speak English or have trouble speaking English. You want to get those voices too, but that's where the more of the fear comes in. I think that families who have been here for a long time or who are fluent in both languages, I think that there's a little bit of, this is just undercurrents within a population. I'm a white dude, so I don't know what really goes on. But I have actually had people tell me, like, I don't need white people to cater to me. They didn't say it quite that aggressively. Like,
Yeah.
that was kind of my interpretation.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's fair too, like, people, they're.
It's fair, but obviously this is a conversation about civic engagement.
Right.
And it's very confusing to navigate.
There's also like a, I don't know exactly how to say this, but if somebody does not want to be engaged, we can't make a person be civically engaged. And if there's not like an inclination to get involved, is it
We need to
really
make
our
it-
right to force people to be involved?
We need to
Well,
make it
our
very
surveys-
easy for them to be involved.
Yes.
If they do not want to be involved,
Right,
then
we
that's their.
sent links out to 17,000 people.
Yeah.
And we got 800 responses.
Which is,
Yeah,
That was
actually
what,
fair.
13%, something like that, 15%.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was told. It seemed like a lot.
Considering we get 30 responses on our surveys that we're
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
work to get out there.
in
Yeah.
like this comprehensive planning type of stuff, if you're getting 1 to 2% of your population taking a survey, that's big.
yeah.
But the other thing is, since we're sending out a survey every month, there's never been like that consistent a level and like over that much time level of community engagement in Bellevue ever before, really.
Yeah.
And so over 12 months, each survey gets 20 responses. That'll still be the most civic engagement Bellevue has ever really received.
Which is
Yeah.
good, but I feel like there's also a little bit of like, stop sending me stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of it.
That's what it maybe brings us back to the grant of what would be meaningful, some different ways to use some of that money to try out, like the other obvious one is the focus group thing, where you're really driving a conversation-based thing with a very specific group of people. You're gonna need to probably put some money towards that to make that happen. I don't know.
If you did, Romero, if like you, when you guys would do this engagement,
Mhm.
just the two of you,
Yeah, I mean, so far it's just,
do you speak Spanish?
I can limp along, like,
Yeah, that helps if you can actually engage in Spanish. Like that's, if anything, like that might be worth a little bit of Romero's time to help engagement.
Right, yeah, sure. Because I've told him, like, even if we got 10 responses a month in Spanish, that would be more than a 100% increase, so that'd be great.
What about the post office? Have you guys on that?
We're not, they don't
they,
want people tabling at the post office or anything.
they have a pretty strict policy on it.
I think it's a global issue. The global issue is it's our duty to try to get as much civics response as possible. That's the blanket statement. Then you say, well, what's our community made up in terms of how do we reach those people? So if we're saying there's a white cultural group and a Hispanic cultural group, you gotta figure out how to get participation from each of them, right? To give it. And regardless if it's 40% or 31% or whatever it is, that's a big portion of our community that we need to include and make every effort to get, that's given, that's the goal. How to do it, the bummer is, I make analogies to other not-for-profits. I'm involved in the Town Garden, and I call it, the Senior Connection has heartstrings, right? The animal shelter has heartstrings. So therefore, you see these commercials on TV about the dogs and the bad situations. Oh my God, it gets me, or the kids, and so forth. Our project doesn't really have heartstrings to it. I'm sorry, but it's not that exciting to the general public in most instances, unless we said an NFL team's coming here and we're building a $10 billion stadium. I mean, a joke, right? So unless it's of magnitude and the city hears about it, right, good or bad endeavor, we're not gonna get much participation most likely, right? So this, I think, is a due diligence thing, all right?
Right.
If we gain good nuggets from the outreach, wonderful, right? So for me, in my profession, if it's something really unique and interesting, they'll get my time, all right? But I get all kinds of survey requests. There's no way I'm gonna get 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes of my life. Unfortunately, even though the EPA wants to know about energy in my world, it's not like, oh, I should, but I don't, right? It's just my own personal choice. So the one that gives me the $25 Amazon coupon, right? That coincidentally is something associated to what I'm interested in. It sways me. And I'm like, all right, maybe I'll do that. I'll get my $25 coupon. So where you were headed is if we have $25,000 in a pot of money, right? Regardless if it's a Hispanic community, it's not like I don't think stereotyping is also going to affect your too, because I like to eat there or
There are so many different.
or wherever it is. So I think spending some of the money to truly do an effort to try to get the ratio up, even if 1 to 2% is a good number. You give it one hurrah, you keep doing it on a social dynamic standpoint to say we're still doing it, but we're not gonna probably, unfortunately, crack the nugget here too much.
Maybe, sorry, you done?
I'll finish. So we partnered with a restaurant that's gonna benefit them, that they give us a discount, that we get to use that as the advertising, and that we help put $5 a person towards an appetizer or whatever the creative solution is. And instead of 28, if we get 300, money well spent, probably, okay? My last part would be, I think the next scenario is what I'm gonna call the world I live in, a reality. And the reality is, this gentleman you said, Herbert, right? Anything that I do, whether it's science and architecture or organizations, you form a committee. And the committee has select people that have expertise that are there with good intentions to look up for the best benefit of whatever the task is that that committee is, working on. Therefore, we don't have a Hispanic person sitting in the room, right? And if Herbert's the connected guy, maybe we put some money in to get him here, if he doesn't volunteer his time, to help represent that community, if that community would say, hey, Herbert's a good person to represent us.
Well, and even he'll have the connections to say like the, Iglesia Fundamental or
Yeah.
the church next to Memorial Park, maybe the pastor or community leader or other Hispanic community leaders. He would have the connections to be able to get them on.
So I'm saying use him to either get that connected person in this room where that's a voice that's heard when we're actually planning what the future plan is to address all cultural groups. There you go. That's mine.
Well, I just expand on that. If you were to do, I think that's an interesting idea to do it like a. I mean, whatever, however many restaurants are in town, just do like the little pot with the QR code on it, set it on every table or whatever you want to do it. And you just blast it out to all the places. Advertise it somehow. That probably garners you a bunch.
Yeah.
You have H Property, it's a Hispanic owned company right here in town. Their Tatos, like that would be a,
And I'm closely connected with Carlos.
yeah, like, and they're very community oriented.
Another idea would be to piggyback on I live right next to school, so I see stuff going on there at night occasionally. I'm on parent teacher conferences, the elementary school. So it'd be interesting to also look at the elementary school as a big target moment of tagging on the PKG or whatever. Yeah, concentration of people. Oh my God. No choice. And, yeah, but it would be, I think it'd be really helpful, like to sit here today and think about some of those gatherings of people in our town, and do we have connection to them? Could we establish connection to it? I know that in addition to someone like Herbert, there's the opportunity to pay, that there's a word for, if just looking at Hispanic community, the word promotora is used a lot in terms of someone who, it's just like the Latin sounding word. Someone who's able to promote topics and themes, maybe even education, because they are socially networked and because they are going to act in that with good intent. So you brought that up. So there's I would be really curious to walk a few of those ideas out onto the table, look at the constraints of the grant, like how the money can be spent.
There's very
The
little.
timeline.
Basically, yeah, it's very.
It's very loose.
Can we get cash? to give
We already-
people? I
oh.
mean, like, walking down the road and getting gift cards, totally fine also. But just, like, is there a timeline? Like, do we need to spend it by the end of 2026?
No.
I think it just has to always spend on the comp
Yeah.
plan, since the comp plan outreach is going through December 2026.
Yeah.
That's when it should be used.
Okay.
Yes.
Starting at 6 o'clock, have a wad of fives in your pocket. Every house, $5 to take this survey. I mean,
On some level,
Wait.
the door knocker approach is like also relevant.
people do it.
I've heard of cities that, as far as the school, or consulting firms, whatever, they will, give the survey to all the kids in the school, say whoever gets the most, whichever class gets the most responses gets a pizza party. Because kids bringing information to their parents is one of the best ways to get information to the parents. So,
That's me too, I said.
Go to your,
It's the old 4-H program. You
yeah,
know, you give the parents and train the parents through the kids.
through the kids, yeah.
I wanted to be, a word of caution though about picking a restaurant.
But that's kind of a lot, that's any restaurant.
We give out a voucher that they can take to any restaurant, their choice, it's a Bellevue restaurant, you know, that, I don't want to,
Do every restaurant.
yeah,
Sometimes-
with their choice.
Yeah.
If they wanna,
I'm with you.
yeah,
But you could, the Mahoney's, the pizza place, South Valley, and Mexican restaurant, and then you're covered.
where do you?
oh, there's a Japanese restaurant out there. There's all sorts of,
Sure.
restaurants.
Sure. So you were gonna say something,
I
though?
was just gonna piggyback on your use of the word committee, like taking into consideration some amount of strategy in the funds that are given and, you know, putting these ideas up against each other and deciding on, okay, like, let's do 15% in this manner and let's try it. I mean, we have enough time here to try things.
Yes, for sure.
So the other thing about the money, again, my experience with not-for-profits is to be able to, at the end, look back and say, what do you have to show for it?
Yeah.
Right? And so, too many not-for-profits I've been with, you look at that and the response from the flip side often isn't good. Other times when it is there, you're proud to say, here's what that did, you know? And I have to tell a story. When I moved here, I moved from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Wisconsin has the highest consumption of beer per individual in the country, highest heart disease problems and dietary issues with nephrology and kidney disease and all this other stuff. And it was the lifestyle. And I moved here to become a vegetarian and change my life, right? And when I did, I brought friends from Wisconsin to help me move here, right? This is when you could buy those disposable cameras and you take a best stop and get them developed and so forth. And my two friends from Milwaukee, regular working folk, as compared to the college student that I was, but we were all still friends in a good way. And they were taking pictures of people on the bike path in Ketchum. And I said, what are you doing? He says, we've never seen this healthy of like a demographic of people. They were taking pictures of people.
It's like a nature
And this is by the church when you go up by the old barn thing from the water wheel thing up to Sun Valley Road. And I'm like, all right, I had already been here to interview, but I was like, I'm in the resort towns. That's why I'm moving here. You know, there's a healthier culture. You see it somehow, but they documented it, right? So if I was trying to pick up on what you said, where the money came from and a health thing. And I went, Maureen, how do you use the money relative to the South Central Health District, right? But if it's for stress, if it's for mindset, right, if it's for community, these are healthy things, okay? So if I'm driving through Bellevue, right, it's noticing you said driving, right? Because that's what most people do. Our community doesn't look like anything in terms of health, right? And I'm trying to come up with a definition of what health is, all right? So my brain goes, because of my profession, our job will be down the road. Where does housing go? What is our interconnected network? How do the zoning ordinances work? How does it work with developers? How are we ever going to grow? To grow can be all different things. It can be size, like the tree symbol. It can be roots of success and health. It can be the wrapper of how we look as a city and our streetscapes. So my brain is going, let's spend some money and get a product, right? That we can show that complements whatever we come up with as the key one or two items for our vision, all right? Meaning, where does the comprehensive plan encourage the zoning staff and the commission and so forth to go? What is that graphic, right? What is that feeling that then makes people want to participate to go, oh, look at, we're going to use that product to go get a grant for $7 million to improve Main Street from a healthy engagement, social, trees, night lighting, and connectivity to parks. So is there a product that we can use from that, generate from the money of that according to what our task is? That is like our postcard vignette that wraps up what we achieved.
No, as long as you.
You hire a landscape architect to do the vision that summarizes what this word package we produce looks like visually.
So I'm talking about numbers. Like,
Well, we're gonna be done in a year.
yeah, oh, I mean, like the demonstrable, like tangible, this is what we did with this grant money is
Yeah.
the survey responses, the focus group, coding, whatever, that we're like demonstrating. And then that package then becomes something.
Yes. Three vignettes of whatever we can decide the vision is, that this might be the growth of our. And do the bulb outs and the trees and the vert lighting and seating areas and the park connections between, down the hill here, Nature Preserve and City Park, and that we have a new community center. That there's just somebody that we paid $5,000, which is a fifth of the going rate, that they help us do this vignette that summarizes what our master plan efforts could look like.
Brian, you still have that video I sent you? Did I send you that one that we made? Well, it was part of the 2017 thing. We made Jim Phillips made a video. And I don't think we ever got it out on the market much because at that point, we had achieved, as much as we probably could. But I need to send that because what it does is focus on Bellevue as a small community and how graceful it is. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about a much wider vision that takes in Main Street and other, this is focused more on homes, family homes. But I think it's an example that's out there for us to emulate. Now, I'll get that shipped around.
It's an existing video they got me.
Pardon?
It's an existing video.
Yeah, I think it's on YouTube. I'll have to go back and look at my files. It was fun to do, I know that.
So my point was another way to have a deliverable that has some packaging, graphic summary that actually means something besides black and white words.
Well, you're moving that way with your streetscape. When I look at the difference, for instance, between, was it Driggs and Kimberly, the two of them?
Yeah.
I mean, one of them looks like a clutter of stuff and the other one looks like a streetscape with trees in it and, boulevards coming down to the street and just one was soft and open, welcoming.
Yes.
The other was kind of a hardscape where you.
It looked like a loading dock. Yeah.
So that's the point.
It's like a help cat over here.
I think there's a balance between having really nice, like clean, professional looking consultancy graphics and having like pretty decent graphics that'll do the job and will work. And it seems like Brian and I are perhaps leaning towards the kind of graphics that we can produce in-house without.
To be fair, we're pretty good at
We're
it.
pretty decent. I just don't think we're like landscape architects.
No, we are not landscape architects, but.
Yeah.
But, nice looking document
Put
together.
graphics together, but I don't think it'll look like
Yeah.
the kind of like
And I
comp
think-
plan graphic output that like you'll see in a big city that has the money for a nice consultant.
Right. The polishing side of it, I think, is gonna be the leftovers of the grant money, I think, cause that's gonna be, the last step is to really polish it down, make it look like a very nice document and have a good quality deliverable. But I don't know how much money we're gonna have left over at that point, but what we have, we put toward that.
I think there are lessons to be learned in all the surveys and the election that just happened, that you can extrapolate to what the residents may or may not want.
How do you mean?
Like a lot of the same things, we know our community likes recreation. They didn't vote for what we put out there, but what we learned was that people don't want a permanent levy. People want a specific thing. They want it to land where they want it to land, and they want to know how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay for something permanently. I could argue with the specifics of why I thought our proposal was valid, but this is not how the voters, and then you look at the demographic of the vote, that tells you something too. You look at the housing data, that's Bellevue's included in that. Our own surveys that we did, Bellevue's included in that. The mental health initiative is doing their own set of surveys. I think there's lessons in all that, and it may be worth actually paying somebody to go through all that stuff and try to extrapolate, what does this mean about?
Yeah.
That, instead of going for more surveys, that you might bang your head against the wall and be like, man, we just can't get past 50. You go all this stuff and not have that.
I've been trying to be fairly intentional about doing engagement rather than getting survey results, right?
Yeah,
The overall goal of outreach and engagement is to create a sense of ownership of the plan, right? So the community feels like this is the document we created, these are the policies we want to implement. And then they can actually like be implementable, right? The community's bought into it.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be surprised by the plan.
well, they're gonna be surprised.
They're gonna be surprised, but I hope not surprised by the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They still will.
instead of like maybe that, we've talked a lot about surveys, how to get people to take surveys, like your emphasis is that we are engaged with the public, we are doing these kinds of things, and one of them is surveys,
Yeah.
but it's not like the focus.
I guess two little, one building, taking a little nugget from what you just said, it's something that I just heard Mark say that I think is important to remember is that people, as much as we are all sitting in this room with the intentions of contributing to a rigorous vision that for the everyday citizen, this is not like down-splaining anyone or anything, but what they want is a concrete example in the short term that they will experience. So the I really appreciate like the idea, the importance of putting together like a visionary packet that is the driving force behind a lot of decisions, but in the engagement, in the actual physical day-to-day engagement of driving surveys and stuff, I do think it has to be extremely concrete and tangible and person to person. So then the second thing is just, yes, it needs to be not just survey, but in settings where conversation happens.
Now, whenever you can compare some of this information to some of those broader surveys and almost be like, yeah, that's what that survey said and catch them.
Right. And I think there'll be a good amount of that that goes into it. And there, like you said, there's a lot of data and there's a lot of other surveys out there that we can be cross-referencing and gleaning off of a lot of Bellevue relevant stuff.
And that might get you to your bigger number.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, we're correlating this with that.
It's on top of the
Right.
other survey.
Right, so
Yeah.
now all of a sudden it's not 28, it's, oh, this is like thousands of people said a version of this.
Yes.
And that's what sucks about our community.
I feel like being able to like layer these different surveys and be able to say, this result is not a fluke. Multiple people and multiple like surveys have said this. This is what the community wants. At least the people who will talk to us this
Yeah.
way.
And I will tell you right now, that is what I am doing at BCRD to try to get Bellevue.
Yeah.
Because Bellevue voted for our thing at 43%. Overwhelmingly against
What was like catching?
57 or 8. We didn't pass it in any place but Haley.
Yeah, majority vote in various places, but the voting, right?
Bellevue, Cary, South County,
That's what is what's the majority vote would be over?
super majority,
Over 60.
67. We probably were gonna get that no matter what. But the point I'm making is that that 43%, like we're trying to, or whatever it was, somewhere in there. We're trying to think about like, well, if we're gonna engage with the city of Bellevue, because I'm looking at your data, trying to extrapolate from you what I can use in our proposal.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, and as I think about the changing nature of our community, people moving more south, people coming to these areas, and Bellevue sandwiched by two big subdivisions, they're likely gonna be annexed somewhere in the next 10 years. We might guess. That's what, another 1,500 residents? Like, right now, we need to be planning for what that means
Mhm.
for everything, not just sewer, water, I mean, like community spaces, transport networks, routes. So when we think about our proposals, I'm gonna look at all the stuff you guys are generating. So I'm here selfishly to some extent. How are we gonna deliver services?
Yeah.
To this part of the community that they want? That's where I keep going back to the extrapolative idea. We tie data in a way that tells them something about the overall community that the Bellevue's a microcosm of all that.
So I gained from that relative to politics and money, okay? Which is what the undertone was. And therefore, the scenario.
That's an overtone.
Sure. Therefore, I'm gonna spin it as the money runs out almost everything, okay? And whether the money comes from others or within, right? So the example from others, that's the annexation and that's development within, right? So therefore, there's some aspect of what that revenue of what the projects are costing, what the community's gonna pay for them, what it's gonna generate in terms of the business in our community and have actual tangible cash, that gets spent in our community. So there's that side of it, which is the others, that's their money, okay? Now, the other side of it is that's developers, okay? Our money is if we live here, all right? And if we live here, we can exercise it by our goods that we buy, the restaurants we go to, or the taxes that we pay, right? That's it. So if the assumption is that if we work on a vision, right? And where does the money come from to implement the vision, right? So the ordinances are gonna create incentives maybe that the developers, the money by others, can help do the annexation and help the community plug in the answers to the framework at which we create. Or we have to ask a survey question. Hey, do you want your community to grow, change, evolve? What is your vision? Are you willing for 3% rate increase for whatever we're allowed in our taxes or whatever it might be? And so have we asked the money question of ourselves? We always make the assumption, and what I hear of current politics about Bellevue is, no, we don't want to spend a penny. Well, then that's half of the two-part equation of money, that if our people don't want to, you want to change your community, how do you do it? If you don't have money, that makes it really, really, really hard.
Or maybe we haven't hit the right caps.
And that's what I'm saying. So I think the money topic should be some questions in a survey, somewhere down the road.
Well, and this should be giving city council members fodder for, like, if the community's like, we don't want to grow, then the laws right now don't really, they're not gonna save us from that. That's unfortunately all. Like, so if the laws aren't gonna save us from that, then that means you have to change the laws. The only way you're gonna change the laws is if the citizens are like, this is the hard thing about civic engagement in this community, because people just don't want to have to deal with it. So the challenge you guys have is how do you position this in a way that's like shocking enough without going overboard?
Yeah, I think it has to be clickbait to a degree.
So some people like will start to like pay attention, so then city council people have something to stand behind. It's like, hey, our citizens want us to push really hard against this development and not have it, or have it look like a certain way.
I know when I was in school and we were designing potential public hearing posters, we were told by one of my professors, potentially have it be a little scary and or intriguing, like if it's a public hearing for a rezone, have a picture that will elicit response and opinion on.
Well, look at like, so the school district did a little bit of this in their last, and they do this frequently. And we were actually advised that you guys aren't scary enough. You're trying to make this too much of a feel-good thing. The school district does make it about like, we have shortfalls, we're gonna, whatever, however they framed it all. And so everybody's like, okay, we're gonna have to both school districts, we want shortfalls. The city, Bellevue's in some dire straits. It's in the paper a lot.
Yes. I mean, I'm trying to frame as much of this as I can as a question of desire or of workable outcomes rather than wants and desires, right? 'Cause like, we're not gonna get this magical world where nothing changes, everything's happy, everything's affordable.
And all our roads are.
All our roads are fixed, our taxes are low. It's just, it's not reality. Right, like, yeah.
Yeah, going back to just like the theme of engagement and like, say, in hearing in the room, like the broad array, that broad spectrum of that, whether it's, you know, in a hearing and an important decision is being made, or like walking it back to this might get useful, which is hopefully like one-on-one, or, small group conversation moments before, this is the like before decision moments. I think, where like looking at how to drive engagement now along that spectrum, it are different strategies. So whereas we're hearing, yeah, make it a little scary or more interesting, whatever, dragging it when we get to these public decision points and stuff. I think right now, I would suggest we really look at is going to where people already are and thinking about incentives and thinking about it as ground zero relationship building. And that is the door knocker level mentality compared to getting them to show up when the vote counts in the. So anyways.
Well, I've been at Atkinson's and tabled and talked to people who've said, oh, I have never had any sort of discussion with anyone in the city before, and I've never been approached in this sort of way, and they found it very valuable.
Yeah.
And so just being out there and people seeing that you're there is definitely important, for sure.
The only other thing I would mention to build on that is remember that so many of us here are working 2 to 3 jobs and coming home at night by like 6 or after. And that is the realm in which you are trying to get in front of people. So you have to start from that understanding of, yeah, there are plenty of people who are maybe not interested in participating, but even the ones that are, you gotta go to them because they're.
And that's kind of why, like, paying for engagement can be helpful,
Yeah.
because people's time is valuable and rare sometimes, and so making clear to people that their time is valuable and we will pay you for it.
We don't have to dedicate the whole thing to it, you try it out, see, you know.
You guys had your events, like you would be like, did you ask would like just take it right now? Like we just had us do it, we all did it in like 5 minutes.
Everybody.
I think the problem is like,
The last couple have been like kid focused, and so trying to get a parent to like not look at their kid for 5 minutes is a challenge, so it's been more of here, take this with you, take it when you get home. But yeah.
the other thing is like, say at Labor Day, we had a blackboard and people could write on it. Well, all we were asking were for people to stop at a blackboard and write 1 word on it. And it was surprisingly hard to get people to stop, because you're doing your thing, you're there with your friends or your family, you're just walking along, you want to go get food, you want to go listen to music. So you're there for fun. And so why would you want to stop and take a survey or write something for the city? Because you're just there for your own sake on your time off. So
No, these are really hard.
It's hard,
This is
sure.
really hard. We did this pool party where we thought, everyone talked about covering the pool. Like, okay, well, let's have a conversation about it. We did. This is maybe our mistake. We did an ice cream social. We had free ice cream. It was packed, like 400 people showed up. We went through, I don't know how many ice cream sandwiches, like 800 or something like that. It's stupid.
Yeah, and then
You know, the amount of people that stopped and talked to us.
in January.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds right. And we were right at the front, at the door. And we had like, we are here to talk to you about covering the pool, if you're interested in that. 3 people.
It's cool.
The foreseeable future.
Okay,
I mean, it's not like, I mean, this is,
that's been going on for 30 years too.
so we've been trying to put a definitive answer to that question. And when we talk about this, like, this costs money,
But could that,
not to get sidetracked. This,
Yeah.
we don't want you to sidetrack. I would love to talk to you about this, because it might come back at a future proposal. But it's gonna be very up to the voters. You can either say yes or no. Because that's kind of the question. We're ultimately all these things drive at.
Yeah.
Is like, your engagements are kind of be about, at some point down the line, city council's gonna say, we heard whatever. That's gonna cost however many zeros. That's either gonna be like we make a tax decision, or we're gonna do it through a lot, or we're gonna basically say, hey, we're gonna have to make a hard choice. Right. Does the community want to, because you're only gonna get so much from annexation fees, you're only gonna get so much from whatever things.
Your bonus is once.
It's a limited pot. We're
December.
all wrestling for this. We're all getting strapped to is the problem. The community's not coming to the realization yet that all of our government institutions are strapped. Bellevue maybe more so than others. Cary probably the most.
I think that's what we getting 85 voters to support the bond. For the rent district. I mean, it's say that, you're gonna see that regularly. 9165 votes, it's okay, okay? Okay.
But that's the challenge right as it
Yeah.
is that they're coming to a realization that how are we gonna actually
And
find
then
ways
one
to
month
do
of-
these things? And it's gonna be about, that's why we get back to hanging, pitting this against some of the other information.
So, yeah,
If you-
because make
this
sure
community
you're finding your
It's
price.
embedded in the larger community, right? We all are.
Yeah.
And we all rely on, this community relies heavily on Bellevue.
We got stuck, the world and.
Just say.
Bigger.
Work people.
But still now.
Woodside,
It's getting-
biggest neighborhood in the
Just
valley.
a little bit here.
Worker people. Somehow, we're gonna have to come to a grips with,
We still have my fingers.
it will be either be a tax question, we're only gonna be able to get so much from the state, and we're only gonna be able to get so much. Somewhere along the line, there's gonna be a reckoning, and I do think that's whether it's a combination of scare tactics, vision, what does the community want?
Right.
That's gonna be the crux, and I don't have the answer, I just think it's gonna be hard. And we're right in the thick of it, in the early stages of this, and you're trying to figure out engagement, information to inform you.
Right.
But it's ultimately gonna come to council, and they're gonna have to say, we raised taxes by X. There's only so many grants we're gonna get. Unfortunately, in Blaine County, our property value is too high, so we don't qualify for rural grants in most cases. I'm surprised you guys got this one. To be honest.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of a downer.
Does anybody on the internet have any thoughts?
Can I make one more comment
Yeah.
on taxes though? Just to push back on that a little bit. We actually are one of the lowest paying tax bases in Idaho.
Yeah, because of our property values.
That's one of the misperceptions in our community. We actually do not pay very much in taxes.
I think the problem is just because, as per the meeting we were just at before this, talking about the cost of living and housing, and especially the way that our cost of living is especially high because of childcare, of groceries, of food, et cetera. Just the cost of living is so high that any extra amount of money being taken out of that feels like
Yeah,
even more.
I get that for sure. Here's a very nefarious, is this being recorded by any chance?
It is. We don't, yes. Yes, it is open meeting.
I shouldn't say it. I'm trying to think very carefully how I want to say that. Yeah, probably shouldn't. I do think that the success of cities like Bellevue or Cary, Haley not as much anymore, but in some of our outlying county areas are going to be finding ways to draw some of that property value, taxable value south somehow. And so does that mean you're probably gonna have to figure out ways to get with the county? Because the county draws from the full tax base. We draw from the full tax base. School district draws from the full tax base.
An example, I think, of what you're talking about is the library district proposal, right? That would be taking the Bellevue City Library and moving it into a
Bigger.
half county district that would then get a lot of the very fancy houses on the for free, to be contributing tax dollars.
And I think that's an avenue where you, as a city, and this is maybe not in surveys and things, but I do think there's a way for community investment to happen. Because this was like, I thought about this a lot in terms of Cary. Cary, most of the people within the Cary area are working up here. There's an ag base, but most of the people are working up here. So, and I made this case, I was at a Sunday City Council making this case actually, or somebody asked me a question like, well, why should we be paying blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you may not be using these things that we're talking about building, But the people that mow your lawn, the people that clean your house, the people that do the restaurants, the people that do all that stuff are benefiting from these services that we're providing.
Even more than that, like the people who are your police officers and your firefighters.
All that, you can go down the line, you can go down the line.
Yeah.
And that I think is somehow if you can figure out how to tell that story in a nice way without compromising. Bellevue might be able to do it. I have to be very careful. I represent the county, but Bellevue, that could be an avenue to really, you talk about partnerships, that could be an avenue. And now I don't know if that's a survey question, like how do you even survey that out
Yeah.
and gauge that out? Because I certainly sit here thinking, wow, what could BCRD do for Bellevue?
It's not the natural plot in Sun Valley.
No, it's not. But look at now, going back to politics and money. The voting population is trending, it is south.
Yeah.
It just is. And that's where there's some, I think, some gains to be had.
You know,
Article
I
8.
think we need to think in terms of strategy. Well, other districts don't. Bellevue needs to think in terms of its own history, and we have been naysayers from the beginning. I mean, non-tax, non-regulation, non-involvement. I'm here, I'm working, I want to go to work. I want to be with my family. You were right. I mean, 6 o'clock at night, what do I want to do? Come to a city hall meeting? I mean, it's been great to have Zoom. I love it because I can sit there all the time, listen to the city council or wherever. But then you look at Haley, and Haley has passed every tax proposal. Right in the middle of the recession, they passed a huge one. And they've said yes every time to civic improvements.
Yep.
And that's an incredible attitude to develop. I don't know how you do it exactly, but the difference in each community is remarkable.
And I think there's a lesson for Bellevue in that too. Because it may not be something Bellevue residents want, but if you can find ways to use modest increases around here, but exploiting's the wrong term. But like I will say, like there are institutions, like I'm one of them, like we want to do things. We can take, you're gonna do it by two ways. You're gonna either increase revenue or reduce expenses.
Yep.
So if you can use others to reduce expenses, that can come from a lot of different places. Like that's another avenue to get the kinds of things that the city wants.
I would also say that the level of service that residents want does not match the capacity of our land use to give the taxes for the services. So we have to look at how like Haley, I think, is in a much better financial position because they have a
Very
downtown,
rough.
a robust
commercial
downtown, lots of commercial.
More apartments going in.
Yeah, they have new apartments and townhomes going in on River Street. So they kind of have some geographic advantages for a lot of that. But we would need less vacant parcels in town, more land use flexibility, more robust downtown that has like exponentially supportive growth.
Yeah. That's a challenge for Bellevue.
Yeah.
For sure. And some of that is looking at the places in our code that don't allow that to happen and saying, is that really worth it? Are those regulations worth the restriction on the tax base and the restriction on the services?
Jim Powdy had to jump off, but sent a message that he agreed with Mark that the voting population is largely moving south and trending more in the conservative direction. But any other thoughts online? Okay.
Cam VT
Oh.
put balls in there.
Yeah, great.
Good job.
They have voice gotten a little deeper and a little more.
All right, So we have a little bit of time left on the allotted time. The last item on our agenda was just kind of starting to dive into policies and goals. Also, I forgot to put this on here. I put together kind of a cover image and name of the plan. That's what you're seeing on the board here. Just wanted to run that by you guys and see your thoughts. It's a bunch of little building blocks is the general theme I've been playing with.
Looking at it, I was wondering if we want the building blocks to be the colors of the like main theme blocks,
I think that's gonna get chaotic.
or we could change the main theme
Yeah.
block colors to match those colors.
But anyway, so that's just that little aside. Any notes on that would be appreciated. But this is what I've been doing with the youth advisory committee this last meeting. We have another one tomorrow, I think, actually. Just kind of going through all of the existing goals and policies from our current plan.
How many kids are in your youth advisory committee?
2. If you know anybody else, send them my way.
Okay.
I give them pizza.
You know, appreciate.
That's insane.
I know.
I act like a kid.
Oh,
You have to 21 Jump Street if you're gonna join me in adult.
Where do you meet them?
Monthly.
Like you got 2 is pretty good.
Yeah. And I am willing to fill out whatever forms it takes to get them credit and internship hours or whatever they need. And so, yeah, if you know anybody, please send them along. But so we've been doing that. Last meeting, we focused on a different topic than we were focusing on this meeting. I think it was the accommodating and diverse theme. Well, we started on, it kind of veered off into various directions, but that was where we started. This one, I asked you guys to look into the current goals and see what fits into / you like and is worth keeping on the theme of opportunities to live and work in Bellevue. So, anybody like start throwing stuff at? So the current plan is chapter by chapter of the things required by state code.
Which one are you on?
So I think there's gonna be a lot of it's gonna be in the economic development portion, which is the kind of pale orange. Chapter, the housing section is gonna have some of it.
We going through this now?
Yeah, I think, that was kind of my intent. And if you guys are satisfied with the level of conversation you've had and want to call it quits at this point, I'm also happy to.
If you go back and give like a blanket explanation of what this is, because you just get me a little confused with some state criteria.
So this is our current 2017 comprehensive plan. I went through and pulled out all of the goals, objectives, and action steps the plan identified and put it into this spreadsheet. The original purpose of the spreadsheet was to have our city council review everything and grade it as kind of a starting point.
They did.
One of them did. But yeah, so that didn't really go anywhere, but now since I already have it, I have to reformat it.
Because that's what I thought it was. And you said something about state.
So the state code on what a comprehensive plan is, says that we have to cover 14 topic areas of population, land use, housing, community character, which is what that's what the
Also within here.
the 2017 plan is structured on, is chapters.
So it means that it covers, yes, as a minimum.
Yes.
And our, task is to read each one of these and reflect on them?
So I think task number 1 is throw out something that you found in here that you like and want to move on to the next one.
On to the next one.
as in incorporate into this plan.
And if there are things you don't like, or would like to change in some way.
Then let's change them or
then we make
throw them out.
Suggestions.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you don't like one, that's great to know too.
it's
Like,
using the current policies as a jumping off point. Yeah, go.
One thing that stood out to me, and maybe at some point we could even like number our pages together, so we can. But one thing,
I can change that format.
What color category?
we're, it,
Are you saying
this is
green?
the fourth page in.
Oh, just economic development.
Yeah, in the light.
What color are we?
Light orange, economic development.
Okay, so I mean, I like a lot of these things, but one thing that's standing out to me, just based on our conversation right now, investigating tax incentives that can be offered and made available to prospective businesses to relocate to Bellevue. So, side note, Sun Valley Economic Development is an organization in the community that does help this happen in the community. They have not traditionally targeted businesses in Bellevue. So there is an organization out there that, and I'm meeting with the new director tomorrow morning, as a side note, but that would be really strong to carry forward.
Okay. You told me the whole thing. Or just that.
That one, but I think
Nice. We can give you some of our thoughts later too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I hope so.
There are a lot in there.
I did cruise a lot of this, but,
Yeah.
making comments on it.
I will say, just as a quick, yeah, I'm not. These categories that you have. How do we know how to, I mean, like, I'm not sure I would want that to carry forward.
So as in goals, objectives,
Yeah,
and
they 1
action.
to 10, or they, what, no, not those, the
The clarity.
clarity,
Oh.
feasibility, impact.
That was my grading rubric for the council, so you can just ignore that.
Okay.
Unless you want to grade them, then go on.
Could you differentiate, goals versus an objective?
No, I cannot. That's why the new one just has goals and actions.
Cause I was like stuck on that.
You guys may know more on the history of how it was divvied up into goals and objectives. I didn't understand the difference, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I remember this was a big discussion at the time, and I can't give you the details on it, but the idea was that you would break goals down into, the goal is a
Sub-goals.
global.
Yeah.
And then the objectives would be a little bit more concrete, and then the actions would be specific. So, and then you'd have specific responsibilities that you can assign each agency within the Bellevue municipal network. Who's responsible for it and some timelines on it. So it's breaking the goal down to specific.
Okay, cool.
Different tangent than that, but building on the theme of living and working in Bellevue and specifically the like work in Bellevue components of having economic development invested in here. In addition to this thing that's written right there, it's just interesting to note, there's a bunch of businesses in Bellevue who are operating thanks to relationships with people, not banks, people who can cover their business loans. And it's just like really fascinating how many layers of economic development we could get into if we wanted to talk about strengthening what's currently here and churning along just fine, but the nature of their business capacity. I don't know if you guys know that, and like not many people know that.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know of a handful of extremely successful restaurants here who, for sure, due to their personal relationships, are able to do the financing forward that business requires. It's not related to
Yeah.
maybe anyway. But I guess
Yeah.
refocus on things we want.
I jotted down informal lending / personal relationship banking as a thing to make into a policy of some sort.
Something ED, economic development. role.
Yeah.
we're curious, is the temperature check on everybody in this room and on the call about that fostering, the specific thing here called out to foster expanded downtown core with consideration of rezoning portions of Second Street, Cedar Elm, et cetera, into a walking, shopping, retail business district. Just love a temperature check like that.
Doable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely doable. All you have to do is rezone. Doesn't even really cost anything to rezone. It's just the
Well,
question of,
we can change the color on the map.
Yeah.
Easily. Getting like converting the existing residences into
Right.
businesses is that's
the
a
trick.
project.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if it's necessarily the right candidate for, it could be downtown core, but it could be like a different sort of zone. And then the other question is, how do you protect the existing residential stock and maintain number of units, et cetera?
To me, the opportunity you have is the, frankly, flying at annexation. Don't look for density, look for
Commercial.
downtown.
No.
That's
But
the- that's the-
light industrial, we've always been in light industrial.
You can have both.
You make about as much money off light industrial as you do commercial downtown, so
Yes.
that's where our history's been. And if you do commercial out there, you are gonna suck the energy out of the main street down here. So the choice is you want to support the core or you want to expand the retail opportunities across the base. But the way that will be invested in there is that you're going to have a fairly large sophisticated company come in, do a multi-production that will be very sophisticated, very attractive, and will suck a lot of energy out of your downtown core.
I guess I keep trying to square Main Street or the highway right to the heart of downtown core. With what people like say that's a problem.
Yeah, in my mind, Main Street is absolutely the biggest impediment to having a vibrant downtown that people actually want to walk down, especially considering, is ITD flexible at all?
There you go.
No.
That I think is, that's the really, and I don't disagree with you.
Well, okay, and let me point out that ITD in the past has been flexible in the sense that the current measurements for street width, for instance, and usable traffic space has been reduced to allow the expansion of the sidewalk on both sides by about 24 inches, which will allow you a small planting, a small
Yes.
additional walking space, so you could change the character of downtown considerably.
Yes,
And they have been open to that.
I just think even like in Haley's downtown and Ketchum's downtown, Highway 75 still is an impediment to their downtown.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're
Even
trying
with-
to move, like Haley's trying to move toward River Street.
Yeah, and River
I think
Street.
that's gonna be, we'll see if it works or not. I don't know if it will.
Well, they've actually lost a lot of it, the housing because of the apartment building. So it was originally thought that the retail would move down there. And that significant north apartment development and that was a loophole in their language that they didn't understand at the time. Like, that's always the unintended consequences, but.
This is a really fascinating question to me, like what, like we all struggle with it, every community. With this friggin' highway going through the center of our valley.
In my mind, small towns that have their downtown perpendicular to a highway do much better than the small towns where their main street is a highway. And finding ways for us to potentially in the future orient towards a more perpendicular arrangement, whether it's in Flying Hat or wherever, would be useful.
Here was the proposal, somebody, we're not doing this, but. Convert the bike path to the highway.
ITD is
I did
mention that.
is considering it, actually.
That's.
No, if they would make it enough.
right.
That,
Secondary highway.
but like, that's the kind of, I think that's the struggle we're all wrestling with it, to your point. I mean, like, you don't want to lose what we built up around these places because we just did. There isn't an easy answer, but we don't start now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to happen, like, we may not, none of us in this room may not see it. It might take 20 years to get to a incremental shift toward, like, we're looking for what's the 1 or 2 degree course that we can start to chart
Right.
that has that down the line. It's now kind of a reimagined place. That's something I also think to think about in these comprehensive plans. It's like, we're looking at a small change now means something big down the
Yeah.
line.
It wedges out.
Yeah.
And you know, I've always looked at industrial development here. If you watch how quickly it goes, I mean, Bellevue's had a number of them here in the last decade, and Haley's had some. The whole county is out of light industrial.
Yes, I agree.
And the investment in light industrial is much more attractive and will happen quickly. Whereas the investment in redoing Main Street is going to be a significant cost and is not going to happen quickly. So that if you want to shift that wedge more quickly, then light industrial is a more positive response, or gives you a more positive response, economic response. And it also gives you jobs for people in the community. There's a lot of things that say protect your core and do these annexations with light industrial.
I do think the annexations that are coming, there's been this, we need housing. I don't know if that's the answer anymore. To put 1,500 units or however many they're talking about at Flying County. I don't know.
Well, I don't see them doing that many.
Oh,
I do.
Oh, you know, the airport impact is huge there. Housing in that area is.
It hasn't mattered for the woodside.
I can see it doing against the hillside as far over that way as possible and.
that one and that one, thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. Because what they've heard over and over again is that we have a housing shortage. And that's not, I mean, that's true, but it's also like, I don't know if building more houses solves the problem necessarily.
Well, it's like widening the highway so it's easier to drive with, that would attract more cars into it. So highway development, like housing development, merely.
Kind of causes more problems than you might. So I feel like your thought, like if we're trying to give direction through a plan like this, that guides the kind of
Yeah.
stuff like annexations. Light industrial up there, like there should be more than just the slivers that they.
Oh, that was the last plan, that's actually what it was. That there's light industrial up there too. And
There is,
commercial.
but there's,
And high density housing.
right,
And
I'm
smaller stuff too.
I'm almost going like maybe it should be more light industrial and maybe,
Because
Oh, yeah, I'd look at a 70-30 ratio.
yeah, because right now I think it's split, I think it's 30-70. But that's an interesting, I hadn't even really thought about, like, do you really just push the light industrial thing
That's
out further, expand it, make that's what we want?
I mean, in my mind, the Gannett one, at least when I visualize it, seems more like that's already an area that is pretty light industrial. And it could suit a lot of light industrial, uses. I definitely want to, yeah, I think we need like
I
development
agree.
standards that can support residential being proximate to light industrial without the residential suffering.
Yeah.
Is that like in the land use section of this thing, or where?
So
I'm just saying.
Right, sections?
I think,
Public hearings?
I'm glad you agree, but yeah.
I just don't underline when we get it.
The future land use map never actually made it into the implemented plan of our current comprehensive plan. So
Light industrial south, not north.
I don't know what she's.
Is that illegal?
Okay.
Okay, it's fun.
And what helps with the ballparks.
Yeah,
Finding
that's still,
That's still there.
they would, right now they're talking about donating 25 acres, all in Bellevue,
all in Bellevue.
all on the Bellevue side,
Oh, really? I thought it was gonna be a split.
all on the Bellevue side. That's where our new indoor pool is going to be.
Yeah. Just cover the feeling.
We should talk about that. That's actually, there's a lot to that conversation.
And
And
I don't think that's, you know, I don't fancy.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, bye. Thank you. Yeah, that was done. You used to.
I'm gonna boogie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like, really enjoyed the conversation today. It's good.
Yeah, I'll be excited to see you next time.
Oh, and
Yeah.
anybody that's interested, we have a town hall meeting on the 16th about development standards. So related to town plan. Yeah.
You were there or?
I mean, if you guys want to keep going, I'm happy to keep
Well,
going, but
I like the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think it's critical.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, we have to get into these discussions.
Yeah.
And, you're gonna have large development interest in having retail all the way along there. And I think that's going to be a huge issue in terms of how we formulate this. And again, how we get them to pay for it. Now, I'm looking at what we talked about expanding here. If you have it, you can get a lot of money from these people. We support the enhanced value that they get
the problem.
is shareable. You rezone, you can't get anything. So there, you got a problem there that you're gonna create a huge advantage business-wise and revenue-wise by rezoning, moving into the park area and creating this community center up there. That you are gonna have a difficult time collecting money to support it. Or to enhance the businesses, and the community around it. It's tough to build money into rezones.
But it's easier to get them when they're coming fresh, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, annexation.
This is the time.
You can say no.
This is the time to do it.
Yes.
Is to influence the annexation as opposed to a reason. That's your.
That, I think we want to generate, well, first of all, businesses that people can work at, and we're a working community, so light industrial rather than retail is going to employ a lot more people. Our chance for enhancing that part of our community is with light industrial up here in the annexation.
Yeah, retail.
It's going to be difficult, more difficult down here.
Retail is not necessarily fantastic, like in a quality jobs generated sort of way, but in my mind, like in a community and quality of life and building social networks and everything sort of way. It's not like you go to a car dealership to hang out as your third spouse on the weekend, but you could go to a cafe. In my mind, you still definitely need both.
I think we just got to the nugget of what I think the capital campaign, I'm sorry, the comprehensive.
The capital campaign.
On capital campaign, sorry for the slip, is about what is that vision, right? And we have to be the parents of that vision, right? Because we're that chosen committee, right? Yes, we do our due diligence and get the feedback, just like an appointed government official, right? You're voting them in to implement what feeds behind them the vision that they are trying to implement, right, in their position. That's what I think our duty is. Therefore, getting these decisions made so that when grants come, huge grants, when development comes, when annexations occur, it plugs into the greater vision puzzle. Therefore, we're not being the tail that wags the dog or the dog that wags the tail, right, the reverse. And so my vision is people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm sorry. And therefore you need to surround yourself with, the city surrounds themselves with the smartest people in the room, whoever those are. And that gets chosen by the community. And it's those people that get the feedback that come up with the version of what that vision is. All right. And you made a comment about housing. I'm going to use vaccines as an example because I was talking in my biased opinion to a horribly ignorant person, which is, yes, a vaccine can cause a major problem in 1% of the people that take it. But then 99%, it makes a wonderful solution that benefits the entire humanity of this planet. And if you're a good elected official, right, appointed person on whatever the task is, you look at those pros and cons. And if you say that one person died because of that vaccine, but 999,000 lived because of it, that's the casualties of the scenarios, right?
Yeah, bro.
And so therefore, if a house and a property value drops, or if you end up like, I'm making it up in Ketchum, the Gale Severn Gallery, the lady next door in a little one-story house, and she
Right.
her laundry and protested, right? Sorry, that's great that she's protesting, right, the change. It's part of a dynamic community, because the visionaries were like, let's have some, whether I like to put it or not, it's a different story, right? So therefore, you're gonna have those instances. You're gonna have people that's gonna hurt, that can't afford the taxes. But if you don't make the 1% shift, wherever that quadrant may go, it's not gonna go there. Last part that I wanna rant on is, this has all been done, and been done successfully around the country and the world over millennia, all right? And I would call it, the visionaries have made these things happen, all right? And they take leadership and responsibility. There's failures, but if you don't try, it's not gonna happen. So the example is homework, PBS, free, America's Socialist Experiment, 1 hour, watch it. It's when the immigrants came to America and said, we left Europe for the following reasons, and we found commonality in the Midwest and said, here's what we want our community to be. It took time. You made the 1% shift. When you see the 17 things, when you look at the list, you go, no shit. It took the visionaries to get the snowball to go, all right? And they did it. So I'm just saying it's an optimistic thing, and it's not what people say in modern times of dumb ignorance and the horrible politics that we all are mutually sharing. Regardless, screw them, all right? The society that we live in, I hate to say it, it's gonna keep us right where we are. You know, unless there's visionaries, and that's us.
Watch the American Revolution, another PBS plug.
The multi-series one?
Yeah, that's been fascinating.
I've watched like 2 of them, it just, it was a big, it made me think too much.
Yeah, it's, when I thought like kids who had school on.
What's that?
Should we have movie night?
American Socialist Experiment, man, 1 hour, jaw dropper.
You know, we've got that same story in our community right here. When you look at the original comp plan that came through Blaine County, in which the cities were given the authority to have all of the industrial development, business development. There would be no business industrial outside the municipalities. The sign ordinances, the protection of natural spaces, the hillside ordinance would be one, riverside, protection, riparian protection. All of these things fit in that same category in which there were people out there screaming about how they're gonna get hurt.
And then BCRD, we're one of them. And we're also proud of those things.
Yeah.
But those are American Socialist Experiments. It's
Yeah.
exactly the point.
And we have that as part of our history, so it's a story we can build on that's not foreign to us. When people complain about they're gonna get hurt,
Perfect example.
Yeah.
All right. I need to go too.
Okay.
yeah, I gotta catch a bus.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. That
Thank
was
you.
fantastic.
Great.
What? Brian,
Mm-hmm.
some of these look like races and they make me hungry.
Oh.
I think I bought 7 copies of the PBS DVD the first fall that they did it.
I found it on there.
And they were doing it as their fundraiser thing, so they were pausing it, you know? So I was like, I'm gonna buy this. And I gave them out at Christmas. So I was like, oh